Live from the city of the Five Flags, we welcome you to RaceSpotTV for the East Coast Thunder eSports Winter Showdown. We've landed in the Five Flags Speedway for a 300-lap showdown with a Super Late model in a race that is bound to be full of entertainment, action, and so much more. My name is Arjuna Kankipati. Alongside in the RaceSpotTV commentary booth is Lorenzo Bonder, while Hugo Luis is down in the production booth controlling all of the actions, and we have TV cameras provided to us today by Dougie Beard. Lorenzo, this is short track racing. This is where elbows come out, tempers flare, and the action is always relentless out on track.
Always relentless out on track. Only a half-mile track of the Five Flags Speedway, home of the Snowball Derby. It's going to be an interesting one. We're definitely going to see some argy-bargies around the track, but it's never, whoever starts in the last place, that means the 18th place of the 18 cars we have around the track, doesn't mean they're going to be last place. There's always lots of opportunities with this race.
And with a 16-second lap time, give or take, the reality is that if we went green, this race would be done in 80 or 90 minutes. That's an improbability. We're not likely to go green till the end here. We are going to see plenty of action at a track known for abrasiveness. And that means, Lorenzo, that tire saving can be crucial. And it would be crucial to see that in a car that's got, upwards of 500 horsepower, how drivers manage the tires over the course of the race.
Yeah, it's going to be a tricky one. These super late models, they have so much raw power that not only you need to save your tires, you need the proper technique to manage them, to go into the corner, make sure the car rotates, you grab the acceleration out of the corners, and you try to build up the speed and try to get yourself away from your opponent, because they don't have the electronic mambo jambos that the current NASCAR car does. They basically rely on your driving skills alone.
That's what we love to see. The Five Flags Speedway, the host of the Snowball Derby, ran every December since 1968, one of the premier late model stock car races across the country, attracting drivers from all over the United States to try and challenge themselves here. Of course, in the last 10 years or so, recent winners that you will know: Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, Eric Jones, John Hunter, Nemechek. The list goes on and on. It is going to be fascinating. Here's the stats on the cars. We're looking at a engine with 550 horsepower, 4-speed manual like the old generation NASCAR Cup cars, not the new sequential box that we've got there. Top speed, 190 miles an hour, but a half-mile speedway. We're not going to see that, Lorenzo.
No, we're not going to see. I think we're going to be able to see up to, dare I say, about 120, maybe 130 if we're lucky enough to see that going and entering the corners, basically. Because it is such a short track. The lap is flying. It's fast, about 16 seconds from what we saw on qualifying. What the average might be on 19 seconds on the out lap, 20 seconds maybe. But it's flat. It's fast, and you barely have any time to think of what you're gonna do on the next one. You have to be always constant on your thinking to be alive for 300 laps.
And you want to know how important this track can be in real-world competition in the Snowball Derby? Well, NASCAR moves its end-of-year banquet to allow the drivers to come and race here on a Friday night. So it'll be fascinating to see how these drivers challenge themselves here. 6 minutes in a warm-up session. Qualifying has already completed. And Lorenzo, one thing you mentioned earlier, 18 drivers. That means that it's not going to be as helter-skelter as the Winter Derby that we saw here in iRacing just a couple of months ago. One of the iRacing special events, which was this combo, 300-lap super late model at the Five Flags Speedway. It was a fascinating race, but this is going to be fascinating in a whole different perspective.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating from a whole different perspective, absolutely. Just because it's kind of like cut down from maybe 20, 22, 24 drivers that we normally see in the Winter Derby, even more at that. It's going to be an interesting one, just to the fact that I think that is some very high-level drivers. I was taking a look, for example, Luke Baldwin, nearly, I think, 5K when I was looking at his iRacing profile. So we got guys ranging from 5K to 1K, but they're so dedicated towards this car that the playing field is basically even.
Yeah, no, I was looking at that as well. You've also got the spread. You've got drivers up there, 5,000 plus I rating. Then you've got some newer members as well, about 1,200 or so. So big spread of I rating, but the skill level doesn't seem to be that spread. With the qualifying session that has just happened, it was about 3/10 that separated the entire field. Two drivers did not set lap times, so I'm seeing one car has already flipped itself on over. Hopefully not a premonition of what we are in for here today. When it comes to tire wear though, Lorenzo, in a car like this, plenty of downforce, plenty of speed, rolling through the corners is going to be so much more difficult than I think people understand, because this is a short track, right? Momentum is crucial, and maintaining that momentum with a car like this, look at that, the 22 car already getting the rear end hanging out. It's one of those tracks which really does reward smooth driving.
Yeah, and you were looking at those Hoosier tires that are being pushed around the track with William Krzyzewska. You know, you need to know how to enter the corner, how to carry the speed through the corner. Well, we say that this, even in Indy cars, that we cover Indy cars every Monday on RaceSpot, Arjuna, but it's so much different. I think it's much harder than what we do see Indy cars or even in NASCAR, that they need proper handling of the cars. They need to know throttle shaping and getting out of the corners as easily, as nimble as they can, because one little spin basically kills the tire line.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't believe there's any tire limits today, which would make things that much more difficult. The new addition that we've seen to the iRacing service with those tire limits really does shake things up. Makes you think about when you want to take the tires, how you want to take a tire. Here's a look at the track conditions. 78 degrees Fahrenheit in the air. Basically, as close to the coolest that you can get here in iRacing. We're pretty close to that minimum. 109 Fahrenheit on the track, so that is pretty balmy. Partly cloudy, so we may see that shift around and the cloud cover comes and cloud cover dissipates. We'll see the track bake up and cool down. 2 miles an hour wind, so it's not going to be significant, but we are racing at just about 4 p.m., give or take, here in the virtual Pensacola, Florida. We are also racing in May. So, you know, despite the fact this race may go 2 hours, Lorenzo, it's not necessarily going to cool off as much as it would if we were racing in the virtual January.
Yeah, it's not. I think it's going to be right about 108. Maybe if we see temperatures down the line, might be, I would say, right about 96, 95. I would say that would be the minimal, but that would be right towards the tail end of the race. It's not going to punish the tires way too much. Just because it is on May, it is close to the summer in the United States. It's still humid and still going to be quite warm of sorts, but it's not going to be punishing. But I think the progression is, just because it is cooler doesn't make the driving easier. I think because it is cooler, you need to, I think, be a little bit more aggressive with the tires, maybe on the latter portions of the run, for you to build up the heat or maintain the heat in the tires properly.
Save tires early, go fast later. And of course, Florida is busy this time of year. Of course, iRacing has kicked off the month of January in its iRacing special events with the iRacing Roar that just wrapped up today. 2.4 hours solar race at Daytona International Speedway. Next week, it will be the 24 hours of the Daytona, another of the iRacing special events, all building to the Daytona 500, the Great American Race. And if you're not already a member of iRacing, join us on the iRacing service. Head to iRacing.com, sign up today, and you could be on your on the road to joining the grid for your own Daytona 500 in just a couple of weeks' time. Winding down in this warm-up session, a bit of action there as they just try and get out of the way of some of the cars really already up and built up that momentum. On the starts here, Lorenzo, too wide. What are you expecting from some of these drivers when we think about the fact that to win a race, first you have to survive?
Yeah, first you have to survive. We have that saying, right? You don't win on lap 1, but you certainly can end your race on lap 1, right? It's that famous phrase, or infamous phrase, depending on the perspective, of course. I don't believe they're going to be wholly aggressive. I think they're going to try to take care of their tires and try to find the proper pacing around the track, because it is so tricky for you to go aggressive on the first few laps just because you want to try to move up the field, and if so, basically again end your race so early on and lose basically 3-4 laps just because you're repairing the car.
Well, 10 seconds to go in the warm-up session. Again, qualifying is done. We are ready to race for 300 laps here in Pensacola, Florida, the city of the Five Flag Speedway. Let's go trackside here in the Sunshine State to take a look at the starting grid for this East Coast Thunder's eSports Winter Showdown. Parker McDonald with a 16.372 puts it on the pole. Riley Erickson lines up alongside 600s off the pace. Luke Bolden, Alexander row number 2, while Caden Fisher and Jake Sylvia will complete the top 6 positions. Chase Johnson and Weston Ward 7th and 8th, while rounding out the top 10, Blade Timmons and Robert Taylor about a quarter of a second separating the top 10 cars. Nick Rogers, Ryan Grassi 11th and 12th. Dylan Courtney will roll off alongside William Krushka on row number 7, while in 15th, Brent Seegers lines up alongside Michael Berner, Thomas Frisch, and Jeff Rogers, the 2 cars not putting down a qualifying benchmark. So that's a look at the grid as the cars line themselves up. Pace car in front of them and ready to get 2 pace laps underway. Because it's a short track, they get a little bit more of an opportunity to build up the heat in their tires, build up some pressure as well, and get steeled for the race that we are about to see. Glad you can join us on RaceSpotTV. A reminder as well, if you're not already subscribed to us, hit that red subscribe button, hit the bell next to it to get notified every single time we go live with a great sim racing series that we get to cover. We're only into the middle of January. We are already exceptionally busy as the cars are rolling now. Lorenzo, let's get a prediction from you here. I'm not going to ask you about a winner. I think that would be somewhat unfair. Yeah, instead what I'm going to say is over-under on the number of cautions that we're going to see.
It's going to be, I want to say over 4 cautions.
Okay, over 4. An update as well from the grid. Looks like at least Jeff Rogers won't be participating. He is not by the racetrack. Thomas Frisch is by the racetrack but hasn't taken to the grid. So 16 cars lined up. Question will be, will we see the 17th as around they go one more time under pacing here? So you're saying 4 cautions. Are you expecting them to come late, to be bunched up? Because we know cautions breed cautions.
Yeah, cautions bring cautions. I think if we're going to see something coming up, it's going to be maybe within the first 20 laps, maybe lap 100, 150, and then 255.
Well, here we go. 300 laps at the Five Flag Speedway for the East Coast Thunder eSports Winter Showdown. We're ready to race. We're glad you're joining us. We're underway for 300 laps. Single foul for the top 2's. Challenge coming around the outside from Caden Fisher on Alexander Rowe. But 4th on back. A little bit more 2-wide action back in the pack, but cleanly through the half-mile speedway here. Lap 1 in the books, Lorenzo.
Yeah, lap 1 in the books. Basically, like I said, everybody just trying to find their footing around the track. Some guys going too wide, but not too aggressively, as we see Chase Johnson go on the inside. That looks like to be I was gonna say Weston Ward on the outside, and mentioned the position, and no.
Well, there's the first caution. There was a 3-white moment in towards turn 1 that was always gonna end in tears. Brent Seegers getting mixed up in that one. William Kruchka as well. Ryan Grassi, I think the biggest loser though in that palaver of a situation, and so the first time tonight will slow things down, and the caution flag is out. We'll get to look at the replay here, Lorenzo, and it's just coming off the corner. You can see just pinching down the number 51, Brent Seegers. Not much that he really could do other than backing that one up, and well, 2 cars, significant damage on them now.
Yeah, both Krushka and Grassi have to bring their cars back into the pit lane, and it's that confusion, you know, because it is short. It's such a short track that, and like I said, the laps come flying by so quickly. It's so hard to make like fine adjustments on the exit of the corners and try to keep yourself who's on the left, on the right hand side. And I think if they have spotters around the track, and usually some of these drivers, if not all of them, do, they're gonna be working around the clock tonight. They're gonna earn their money, man.
Can confirm as well that Krushka and Seegers both seem to have the meatball flag, so indicating that the automated iRacing stewards have told them that they must come down and get their damage repaired. Ryan Grassi pulled instantly down onto the pit lane. He's been in the box for 40 seconds and counting, getting some repairs. Krushka has followed him in this time around, so both of those cars will be at least one lap down. Seegers will follow them in as well. Doesn't look as though Thomas Frisch will actually end up on track, so looking at 16 cars that took to the green flag and will be racing here today, and already might be down to 13 on the lead lap. It was good to see, Lorenzo, that the top 4 or 5 cars really did understand the job here, the mission to stay alive until the end of this race.
Yeah, they did, because you know, the one thing you really don't want to do, because these cars, they have so much power, and it's a little bit of a staple on the pro lane models, and I think on the D class, the Arkham Menards cars, is that on the first few laps, the tires are so cold that it's so easy to overdrive them. So I think they're just taking it easy, find their strides, be comfortable with the car, moving on. I think whenever they go, and maybe within their 10th lap of the stint, or maybe 15th lap of the stint, they can get a little bit more feisty trying to move for positions.
Absolutely, and so these are relatively long caution periods just by nature of the distance of the track as they begin to form up too wide once more. Caution flew on lap number 3, will race once more on lap number 9, so indication that maybe 6 laps will be the laps counted off for each of these caution periods. Grassi is back on track. Krushka is still in the pits, so 2 minutes and counting there. Might already be day done for him, but we will wait and see. Does appear as though, by the way, Thomas Frisch is your race control member, so he's not racing, but that's because he's up there and watching. Green flag back out. We are racing once more, and what a launch from Parker McDonald. Battle for third, though, is looking feisty as we jump on board with Jake Sylvia right around the 5 Flag Speedway.
Yeah, let's take a look. And what I like is this, you know, just lifting off the gas, just trying to let the car roll. A little bit of feisty move between Caden Fisher and Bradley Harrison, it looked like now, but it's actually Caden Fisher and Luke Baldwin going side by side on turn 1 and 2, and still keeping it clean.
Clean for now, but the car up top might get freight trained by the iRacing number 9 that's following in behind. That is Nick Rogers down on the low line as he tries to make the pass on Jake Sylvia. Up front, a bit of battling going on between Ward and Fisher. They might get themselves sorted out for now as well. Top 7 now are single filed and working their way onto lap number 11 out of 300. It is a long old race.
Oh.
That's going to be the second caution. The 18 goes around right up into the path of the 78, and he ends up on his lid.
Yeah, unfortunate to see Caden Fisher being thrown upside down, but I think just looking at what was happening between him and Luke Bottom, and eventually I think Alexander Rowe came in together as well. That was a little bit unfortunate, but called for of sorts. We could see that one coming because they were getting a little bit feisty on this restart, and that's it. Number two yellow flag, and Arjuna, it looks like my prediction is going to go down the drain.
Yeah, no, we're going to blow past those 4 cautions that you predicted. It was optimistic, that's for sure. Sylvia onto the lane this time. Watch the replay here. The 18 car got a little bit loose on the entry and arced into the corner just a little bit more than I think the cars behind were expecting. And that's a big impact for Fisher. Question will be, how significant is the damage for him? Andy Johnson, by the way, has elected to roll himself back to the garage. Looks like some technical issues for him. So one by one, the cars are dropping off. We'll see exactly how this is going to shake out. Krushka is still in pit box. 4.5 minutes and counting for him. So damage that he's incurred, pretty significant. Question will be for Caden Fisher, how significant is the damage for him? Jake Sylvia, 21 seconds in the box itself. He's come back out onto track and is still on the lead lap, crucially.
Yeah, and that's what you need, you know, be within that lead lap, but try to be the lucky dog if you're one lap behind so you can have that shot, right? And from what it looks like, because again, this is coming up so quick, it's gonna be so simple for you to get that lap back. Maybe not be within the lead lap, but just work in the yellow flag so you can be within the lead lap and then work the pit strategy towards your advantage when you actually get that lucky dog and be within a comfortable position.
And the reality is, once we get into those long green flag runs where the laps will tick on by and not really a chance for these drivers to relax, these 16-second laps really do keep the drivers on their toes. The race is just going to start flying by. We'll get to that point. The nerves are being let out right here. That tension is being relieved. Silvia's back onto the lane to get 6 seconds of repair, so hopefully he has got that car fully back to factory fresh condition. Forming up too wide once more, so we'll go back to green on lap number 18 of this one. Lorenzo, from the first two incidents, what have you really noted here?
First one, I think, was more of a driver mistakes of sorts and than anything of aggression more really. And the second one, I don't know if there was a little bit of a bump in the back that led into I was gonna say Fisher spinning off, but let's see what the third restart of the race will get.
Off the 15 degrees of banking, back underway. Second caution is in the books. This time around, second place, bit more of a challenge as Luke Baldwin tries to get to the inside of Bradley Erickson. They're side to side, door to door as they come down into the back straightaway and into turn 3. The 22 of Erickson just about holding on for now. Battle going on behind. That's between Nick Rogers and Blade Timmons as well. Single file now through the top 7.
Everybody just single fouled out, but Luke Baldwin trying to find that opening, and he's not being able to get it because Erickson so far putting up a very feisty defense on that number 7. It gets a little bit loose on the outside of turn number 4. Will lose several spots.
Yep, that's Luke Baldwin, who's now gone from fighting for third to fighting to stay inside the top 10. Freight trained and still slowing down. I wonder if he got into the wall or maybe there's a technical failure, because there goes Luke Baldwin pulling straight out of the track and out of the race server. Back to the battle between Silvia and Berner behind. That's one more car that's retired. That must have been some sort of an either incident that we didn't see how hard he hit the wall or something, Lorenzo, or there was a technical failure.
And because it was a little bit weird with that spin, he came out of turn number 4.
Nice car control from the 78, getting the bump from behind, but holding on to his car. He'll keep us under green. 21 laps now in the books as he almost slides up into the path of the 24 car. These guys are fighting tooth and nail. They're losing track of cars in front of them. Silvia sends Berner up into the wall. No caution, but that might come out right behind them because Rogers has gone around, I believe. And my word, that was a big one. Excuse me, that's Ryan Grassi, and that surely has to bring out the caution because he's parked on the back straightaway.
And here comes the leader in Parker McDonald. You can see Grassi on the inside and McDonald trying to break away, but no flag issues so far. We still have a race going, and what we can see here, Arjuna, is despite the RG-bargies around the track, is that we're starting to see a little bit of a separation.
Brent Seegers and Michael Berner fighting amongst themselves. The 51's down on the inside line. We are seeing the outside line can roll the speed quite nicely. Might also not burn up the tires necessarily as much in terms of building the heat. We'll have to wait and see. These drivers now 6 seconds off the lead. Top 5, Parker McDonald from Bradley Erickson, Weston Ward, Alexander Rowe, and Nick Rogers. This is again on the edge of the top 10. Garage is looking busy. William Krushka, Adam Johnson, Luke Baldwin, all are done for today. So from 16 starters, we are whittled down to 13, of whom just 11 are still on the lead lap. And this is really the only side-by-side battle of note. Everyone else is content to ride single file and hold station for now. A couple of cars arcing the corner a bit more than their competitors. Maybe preserving tires, maybe just trying to find some speed around the racetrack. Here comes the dive though, the 51's now the car on the outside line.
Yeah, let's see how Sagers is going to be able to defend that from Berner. We're going to try to get a little bit more aggressive towards the inside line to actually make the move on Brent Sager. Let's see what the 51 car will pull off on the next few laps, because they're going at it. One of the things that I like about these grassroots, if I could say so, tracks in the United States, that and regardless of cars, it always brings out some exciting racing, some exciting RG-bargies, depending, regardless of the car you're trying.
Absolutely, and I mean, you think about the way that this venue has evolved in terms of the racing that it's held. The Snowball Derby went from 100 laps to 300 laps, just ratcheted up the entertainment that much more. And these sort of race distances really do challenge drivers in a totally different way. Did the 24 get into the wall there, or was that just a bobble exiting off of turn 4? They're working their way down onto the back straightaway now. We're focusing on these guys again because no one else is really fighting. These drivers are the ones trying to put on a show for you. The 51 almost bumped the 24 out of the way.
Yeah, and they're doing they're not doing any favors, and the 24 goes around.
And that's going to be the caution. Surprised that this brings it out, while the 3 of Grassy being pointed in the wrong direction. Parks on the back straightaway didn't, but that's the 3rd caution of the day. 34 laps about to be in the books, and well, the 51 and the 24 would not be shocked if these 2 drivers resume the hostilities as soon as the green flag drops once more. We'd also expect that we'll see at least a number of the cars onto the pit lane. In fact, the majority of the field is coming down. Parker McDonald and Robert Taylor, the 2 standouts or holdouts out of the cars that haven't already pitted. Bit of a surprising call, Lorenzo. We're about to find out just how valuable tires are early in this race.
Yeah, or what we can see is from Parker McDonald and Robert Taylor is, take the extra lap, just come into the pit lane. You might lose a few spots, which is understandable. You're leaving to pit. They're leaving to pit basically at the latter portions of the safety car precaution, so you can get that extra rubber. And well, it's not gonna decide the race, that extra rubber early on. We're barely into lap 35, going to 36 anytime soon. But as the longer they go, it intrigues me how much the rubber difference around the track with these new tires on the 22 and everybody behind from forward to back is going to make a difference.
One thing to remember is that while marbles are out there on the track, the effect of the marbles on the drivers not necessarily as significant as it is in the real world. That's something that we've seen, for example, in the iRacing Indy 500, where you can make the outside line work throughout the brickyard in a way that you just cannot risk in real world competition. So we'll see how it's going to work out. Getting word as well that Caden Fisher has got at least one of his laps back, if not an extra one. So he's at least one driver smiling. Parker McDonald, Robert Taylor, 37 laps into their run in terms of the stint. Question will, of course, be, where are the tires in comparison to Jake Sylvia, who has now jumped up to 3rd? 12 seconds in the box for him. Not sure if he's necessarily taken all 4 tires, but they're forming up 2 by 2 once more, and are about to get underway.
And this will be the first intriguing start, in my opinion, because we know on paper both Robert Taylor and Parker McDonald will have a disadvantage to Western Ward, Jake Sylvia, Brandley Erickson, and everybody behind, because they've done their pit stop. So let's see how that rubber difference is going to make an effect over here.
Well, here we go once more. Parker McDonald in control. We're racing once more in your East Coast Thunder Esports Winter Showdown. What will the new tires have for the rest of the field? Top 2 single file around the outside. Here comes Weston Ward, building up the momentum and charging his way into 3rd place. Sylvia gets bullied now by the 22. He's down 2 from the start. Next car in line for the 78 to defend from will be Nick Rogers.
Yeah, LaRoe actually got funneled in going to turn number 2 and had to basically throw the car to the outside to avoid getting spun around. And you can see the that rubber difference. Taylor basically going from P2 to P4 in just in a few sequence of corners, and everybody's starting to slowly creep up on that number 5's back bumper.
So Weston Ward will have McDonald in his sights. This is back between Courtney and Rowe for 8th and 9th positions. Looks like Rogers is fighting as well with Blade Timmons as they battle side by side through the corners. Carr had a moment there, missed exactly what happened, but that was Courtney. Not sure if he got loose or got an assisting hand. Bumped around. Battle for the race lead, though, is beginning to heat up. Weston Ward dives it too deep into the corner. Rogers dives down onto the apron. It's getting hectic here. And reminder, we've already seen 3 cautions so far. 78 slides up the track and almost into the 66.
Yeah, Taylor is dropping like a rock, seeing everybody got better tires than him. The problem is how he's gonna manage to have worse tires and still keep fighting with everybody else. And we nearly had our fourth yellow flag, and we did.
You spoke too soon. The 78 has locked that one down. The iRacing cautions bite once more. 4th on the day. And I tell you what, Parker McDonald is coming under fire and now might just get swarmed on the restart. Will we see McDonald down onto the pit lane this time around? We will find out, because the 5 has led every single lap and he's followed in by almost everyone else. Here's a look at the replay as to what happened from the aerial look. Robert Taylor just trying to get to the inside, and really there was a hole that he was going for that was never open. The 78 does a good job to lock it down. That was always going to end in disaster. There's the pit lane. McDonald, Ericsson, Sylvia, Ward, Taylor, all pitting this time around. So it now means that at least every driver has taken fresh tires in the race so far.
Yeah, it looks like 4 tires for Donald. Everybody else coming out. Looks like Sylvia was the first one to come out of the pit lane. I might be wrong over here, but the number 23 staying strong, and we're starting to see a little bit of the difference in the tires. I think tire life for some of these cars 3-4 laps in comparison to the new fresh tires.
It was impressive the way that Bradley Erickson was able to carve his way up into 2nd and to begin fighting to try and challenge McDonald. Now we've got a new race leader, though, for the first time today. Blade Timmons leads from Nick Rogers, Alexander Rowe, Michael Berner, and Dylan Courtney through the top 5. Caden Fisher is coming down to pit this time by. Will cycle Jake Sylvia up into 7th, or 6th, I should say. I wonder if Sylvia is just bit by bit getting some damage still repaired to his car. Of course, was involved in one of the cautions earlier on today. As we will get ready to go racing once more. Have not even reached the 50-lap marker in the race, and we've already seen 4 cautions, Lorenzo. This is the type of racing that this track invites.
Hey, it does invite lots of aggression, lots of bumping. You know, I think one of the tricky things, like with these close-packed racing, is that we're seeing lots of bumps, and the fact is you're trying to get your brake right, and or you're trying to play what I would say the Intimidator, which Dale Earnhardt loved to do that, even in short tracks. Play that Intimidator, bump the cars coming into the corner, see how they would react. But you're so close to one another that it's so hard to find your striding and give the space towards the other driver. But we're going to go to the green flag, and let's see how this one will go.
Let's turn it up at the 5 Flag Speedway. We're racing once more. Listen to the sounds of the engines in Pensacola, Florida. It's a hectic restart, and once more, the caution flies once more. And again, I believe it was the 24 of Michael Berner that got mixed up with the 78 of Jake Sylvia. Parker McDonald in the 5 elected to have no part of that one, backed up backed out on the initial restart, and watch here, 3 wide. The 22 dives it to the inside, rises up the track into the path of the 78, who rises up in turn to tag Michael Burner. Caution is out for the 5th time today. Of note, of all the cars running, they're all back onto the lead lap as a result of various wave arounds from race control. So 12 cars fighting for the win, but we'll slow it down once more. And you were talking about the Intimidator, Lorenzo. That was a bit too intimidating.
Yeah, going 3 wide into turn number 3, it was a little bit of a... And everybody actually close to one another instead of seeing a little more of 3 wide lines. No, they were very narrow towards one another, nearly pinching each other into the lanes. And we know this track is not wide per se. I would say you basically got 2 lanes, with the third one being basically glued to the wall and still wouldn't give you too much of an edge. And unfortunately, the number 24 got the worst end of it, and is into the pit lane to try to get some repairs to the car.
Poor Jake Silvio, not just saying that because he's got the best number in all of racing, the 78, and that's certifiable because both myself and Lewis McClade agree that the 78 is the best number in sim racing, and we're always right, Lorenzo. We're always right.
Sure.
I mean,
just because you have a VCO Sim award and Lewis does as well.
Yeah. You're the one who said it. I didn't say it.
Well,
just for the record, you're the one that said that.
No. Well, should I take your words away?
No, please don't do that. Otherwise, I go to sleep hugging the trophy. What am I going to do without it?
Fair point. But if we're looking at it this way, I'm kind of an award-winning individual as well because I represent RaceSpot. So,
see, but that makes me and Lewis both double award-winning people.
Okay, fair point.
That is true, though. We were honored at RaceSpot to be awarded the VCO Simi Award for Best Video Content in a category that had the likes of Jimmy Broadbent as well. That's a pretty big win, pretty big W.
Great flags.
Yeah, exactly. A pretty big win as we're ready to go 2x2 once more. Looks like Burner has managed to get 1 lap back, hasn't gotten 2 laps back. Excuse me, no, that was Brent Seegers. Excuse me, he was 17 laps down from the field, but has rolled his way back onto track. So good to see the 51 back out there, but we're ready to race once more here at the 5 Flag Speedway. Down on the inside, Blade Timmons controls the restart, but for the first time, the outside line, it might just be able to challenge for the lead. Behind them, though, Rogers and Courtney leaning on one another as they come through turns 1 and 2. Top 2 single file themselves out, not getting the message of the cars behind as the outside line builds the momentum.
Yeah, a little bit of a touch between Rogers and Kearney going outside of turn number 4. Kearney cars get loose on the outside. It's going to lose about 1, 2, nearly 3 spots. Ericsson managed to thread the needle and get in.
Now, will they calm down, or will Courtney be intimidated a bit more? He's been bumped around on this restart. Now to his inside, challenging is Jake Sylvia, but at least this time out of turn 2, looks like the 19 might just have been able to get clear. Timmons, Rowe, Rogers, the top 3 with Ward and Ericsson completing the top 5. Here comes the challenge though for multiple side-by-side moments there. Car getting loose as well, just about holds on to it. Puffs of smoke around the track. Boy, this is getting hectic once more.
Getting a little bit hectic once more. Oh, a little bit loose, I think it was on the 22 on the outside. On the inside of turn number 4, trying to find a space to move on. I think that is the number 9 of Rogers. Actually, Sarah, that is a 05 from Parker McDonald. That is quite on the inside. But anyway, feisty battle from Ericsson then push. Actually, no. It is Weston Moore with a 05 because we have 2 5s around the track, so it gets a little bit confusing.
Personal bugbear, the allowance of people to have 2 numbers just by putting a 0 in front of it. Ericsson and Rogers, though, duking it out. The iRacing white and teal car on the outside line with Ericsson down to the inside. We saw Ericsson impressive on the 3rd restart of the night with fresh tires to his name. This time by, Ericsson gets the move done, slides his way up into 4th. 1st and 2nd separated by about 4 car lengths as they dive their way into 1. Rowe coming under attack from Weston Ward in the all-black machine. 63 laps in the books, and, you know, knock on wood here, Lorenzo, they're somewhat... they were crazy, don't get me wrong, but they were crazy and in a controlled way, controlled craziness.
Yeah, and not that I like craziness a little bit, but one thing we're noticing, I think, was prior to the second to last yellow flag that we had around the track is all drivers actually are close to one another. I think the biggest separation that we have is actually Blade Timmons and Western War, which is 4/10 of a second. So everybody else is 1, 2, or 3/10 of a second from one another. We're trying to follow each other, but we're not seeing any separation.
Bit by bit, gap for the lead is opening up as Blade Timmons makes use of the clean air for 10th and trying to build a buffer. Ericsson up to 3rd, now attacking the rear end of Western Ward. Rowe has been bundled down into what is now 4th position. Choo-choo train building up behind Ward, though. Ericsson looking feisty and looking for an opportunity. Might also see a move between Dylan Courtney and Robert Taylor. They were going side by side for a moment, but nothing happening there. Here comes the dive to the inside from Ericsson, though.
Yeah, let's see if he's going to be able to keep it up, though. A little bit of, does look like they touched on the outside of turn number 2, heading to the back stretch. A little bit of a touch again, and what a car control from Western Ward.
Not for the first time. We've seen some great handling of these cars to lock it down after a moment. Ward got bump and run there, now under fire from Rogers and Rowe. Rogers really running it close as he tries to pinch down the number 92. He's now worked his way up into 4th, but that battle's not completely done. Ericsson has already closed the gap to 1 car length between Timmons and Ericsson out front as they come down into turn 3. Look at the way that Rogers is not yielding any space to Rowe on the inside line.
Yeah, none at all. Basically saying your line is my line, and make sure that if you're gonna get towards your line, you're gonna have to earn your way in. But this is only making them separate from the guys up in the front. I mean, whether it's gonna be Ward or Ericsson away, because they're distancing right about 5/10 of a second from each other.
Parker McDonald, who started on the pole, has worked his way up into 6th right now. He's in the popcorn seat with Rowe and Rogers still side by side in front of him. Battle for the lead is intensified as we might get the caution out. There it goes. It was a moment for the likes of Berner, Grassi, and Taylor. Ericsson got the move done in time. I believe he did. With side by side, Ericsson and Timmons as the caution dropped, and race leader is now Bradley Ericsson in the 22 car.
Yeah, so found his patience, found the stride, and found the pace to get towards the front. Let's see what happened over here.
So watch here as across the line they come. Taylor's in the lead of this train, and he just gets bundled around. I believe that was by the 19 of Dylan Courtney. We'll bring the 12 cars on the lead lap back down to pit lane, as the only car out there on track is Brent Seegers, who is now 16 laps down and trying to just work his way caution by caution back towards the lead lap. Up on the right side jacks they'll go, right side tires being taken. Doesn't look as though left sides, at least for Parker McDonald. Ericsson's taking left sides, a couple of the other cars are as well. Bit of a change in strategy then here, and given that it's it's an oval where you are putting a lot more load onto the right side tires, Lorenzo. It's a smart strategy from Parker McDonald to now retake the race lead.
Yeah, and they haven't been way too much on the under rubber. I think they've been right about 10-12 laps since the drop of the green flag for the restart. So the left hand side is still pretty much clean, so it makes sense for them to go on the right hand side and change it properly and basically reset the barrier between the tire life on the right hand side and to the left is basically going to be the same thing. Oh,
what happened there?
It looks like the number 66 is trying to get the lap back, and or no, Taylor just trying to position himself and and the 51 is a back marker, had to lift up the weight and got a little bit spooked.
Interesting. Are we on caution 5 or 6 here, Lorenzo? I'm starting to. Okay, well, so I am starting to lose track. So at this rate, it is going to be a long old slog. We're only on lap 78 of 300, have not even reached the 1/3 marker in this race. I think some of these drivers just need to calm down a little bit, Lorenzo, and realize that, you know, what we were talking about earlier, you can't win this race if you keep getting involved in incidents.
Yeah, it is unfortunate, but I think it's the nature of these super late models. You know, from what I know, it tends to get a little bit hectic. And let's see if they're going to follow themselves on the restart. Last restart, that happened. Some Jeff Gordon strategies on the restart.
Parker McDonald back in control, holds the field a lot longer this time. The 66 tried to jump the start. He'll slide into second and now gets challenged by Bradley Erickson to the inside, who's of course got 4 fresh tires and tries to make them work. Oh. The 66 up into the wall. Can he hold on to that car? Because the 05 is barreling down his inside. No, it's not the 05 that turns him. Looks as though we've got carnage on the main straight here.
Yeah, Rowe getting spun around. I think something else might happen to Sagers coming into turn number 1. And let's look on the replay. The incident off the 66 basically beat on the outside. Will lose some momentum. Rowe tries to stay on the lane, and he sees a 66 and spuns him around, unfortunately, and then gets spun around as a counterpart.
That's the 92, the all-black car of Alexander Rowe, as Barney the flagman puts it back out. Caution number 7 on the day. And maybe we're being a bit optimistic when we talked about how with just 16 cars, maybe we'd get some longer runs here, some green flag pit stops, which always mix things up. But we'll wait and see if anyone comes down to pit from the leading 10 or so this time around. Timmons is in, Taylor is in, both to take 4 tires.
And also Taylor getting some repair done on the right-hand side of the car.
Oh, and there's been a crash under caution.
Okay. Interesting.
Believe it was Michael Berner that got involved there, potentially with the... Well, which car was that? Brett Seegers, who was... Oh, he was closing up at a rate of knots. Here's a look at what happens. Of course, Seegers trying to get some of his laps back, and I don't think he recognized in time where the train was, and by the time he got onto the anchors, it was too little too late, and around goes the 24. Unexpected. Unexpected.
Yeah. I did see once in in an Indy Pro race. I think I did it in Phoenix, but it's not common, that is for sure.
I've seen it in Ivor. Of course, that's an endurance series before. Was equally shocked to see it there as I am to see it here today. Ultimately, though, we'll form ourselves up too wide once more. Still a long, long way to go in this race. 2 cars looking like the class of the field. Parker McDonald and Bradley Erickson will line up alongside one another on row 1. We saw on the last restart, the 66 tried to time it up Robert Taylor, but Parker McDonald held the field back. Just that little bit caused a little bit of a check-up effect. Got the power down and led the field across the start-finish line. Pace car is off. McDonald doesn't wait this time. We're racing once more at 5 flags. Erickson doesn't get the launch that he'd want. Will hold off the challenge from behind. Looks like Rogers and Rowe fighting side by side for 4.
It looks like Rogers managed to get a good run on the outside. Might have a little bit of an advantage going to Rowe on turn number 1, but now a little bit of a spacing between the both of them. And Rogers will seal the deal and get 4th place.
Through the 50.
Oh, what happened to McDonald?
McDonald bobbled. I would assume he's got damage on his right front now as well. That is not ideal. Hands Bradley Erickson the lead once more. Ward Rogers now in 2nd and 3rd. McDonald trying to fight back on the outside line where we saw Rogers be strong, but Rogers will hold the position, hangs the rear end out as well for good measure, but with 550 horsepower, that is not unexpected. McDonald holds fourth now, dives to the inside to have a look as they come down into turn 3. Door is closing, McDonald backs out, and for now, he has to wait and bide his time.
Yeah, it looks like behind there's some commotion as well. Looks like to be Jake Sylvia and Caden Fisher trying to move up the field, and also Bradley Timmons might be involved as well. They nearly went side by side going to turn number 2 and 3, but now who's going to be side by side? Oh, 2 cars nearly spun around.
Looks like Timmons has been bundled down the order. Not sure what happened there as McDonald tries to lean on Rogers as they come out of turn number 4. He straights or so along the outside line, even though it rolls the momentum through the corners a bit better. It's not building the advantage down these very, very short straightaways. Word we're getting from our colleague at RaceSpot, Justin Prince, as McDonald was trying to ride the wall as Rogers, I think, clouted the wall there, got loose, holds onto his car.
Oof, nice move from Rogers. Now he's going to open up the door for Rowe. Will he go in? He tries to go for the lunge, and covered early by Rogers going to turn number 3. And what is starting to happen also, it might be a battle for the lead because Ward looked a little bit more aggressive on the last few laps against Ericsson. So the number 22 driver might have to defend the car in a little bit from that number 05.
You just wonder, though, if Ericsson in that 22 is holding back, saving the tires on this highly abrasive surface. Might be thinking this might be the first green flag run that we're looking at with the potential for green flag pit stops. Rogers falling off the back of McDonald, now almost 7/10 back, 8/10 back, as single file they'll go throughout the entirety of the 11 cars on the lead lap. Burner is 1 lap down, Seegers is 15 laps down, so 2 cars still out there and circulating. Retired, Luke Baldwin, Andy Johnson, and William Krushka. Top 3 separated by 6/10. McDonald is getting onto the rear end of Ward and putting the pressure on as he tries to fight his way back to the race lead. They'll almost make contact as they come out of turn number 4. McDonald looking racy. Ericsson smiles as he watches us in the rear view mirror. He's building that advantage bit by bit.
Yeah, bit by bit, he's growing up on both Ward and 5. Basically, it's the battle of the 5s. The only difference is that Ward has a 0 in it, which makes no difference at all. But McDonald looking really, really aggressive and fast with these last few laps. And the only driver who's actually matching Bradley Ericsson, a little bit of a bump outside of turn number 4, on the inside of turn number 4, going out of it, trying to play some intimidator on Ward, and Ward not phased out one bit.
6/10 almost is the gap between first and second. McDonald needs to find the way past, and needs to find a way past soon as we get towards the 3rd marker, the 1/3 marker in this race. 100 laps in the book on lap 101. McDonald to the inside, but on the outside, the 05 holds strong, and McDonald almost quarter panels the Western Ward car. So close to disaster, but they'll hold on. And all the while, 10th by 10th, Bradley Ericsson is smiling in the race lead.
Yeah, not only that, because he nearly has a full second of both guys, and I was looking at the tower going a little bit crazy, but Jake Sylvia on the inside bumps off Courtney to the outside of turn number 4 on the start-finish line. Now, there goes Caden Fisher in it, and Courtney dropping like a rock again and grazing the wall. Courtney on the outside.
Basically all of these cars for 7th on back, 6th on back have some sort of damage to the front end, and I'm sure if we took a look at the rear end of their Super Late models, they'd have a little bit of crinkling there as well. Of course, now the field getting separated bit by bit, up to 5.5 seconds between 1st and 11th, as this train of cars 5 deep with Taylor not far behind. He might close. Courtney, I think, made a mistake there. Will open the gap and split this group of cars. Battle for 6 now. It's 3 ways between Sylvia, Fisher, and Grassi, Courtney, Timmons, and Taylor. on the edge of the top 10. There is Blade Timmons up on the outside line. And don't blink if this continues as is, and potentially even 10 or so laps, the leaders might come around to lap these cars because of the speed differential there. The 23 gets loose, makes contact with the 66, but both cars hold on. We stay green, and bit by bit the leaders close up. Speaking of the battle for the race lead, by the way, Lorenzo, it's almost 1 full second that Bradley Erickson has cleared off from second.
Yeah, Bradley with the last lap at a 16.95 compared to 16.96 from Weston Ward. You know, bit by bit, you fill up your cup, and Erickson slowly filling up the cup with relative ease. But what I like is this real good battle between Caden Fisher and Jake Sylvia. Caden, after being thrown around on the top, and we have another yellow flag.
Oh, and that was a car that was upside down. It was Brett Seegers, the 51 car that was 15 laps down or so. Interrupts the long green flag run that we were looking at.
Yeah, let's look at the replay what happened. Was that all by himself? It was. Arjuna, if there's one thing I noticed, I cannot say cars being upside down and immediately I kill another individual.
Yeah, don't worry, I'm not going to blame you on this one though.
Oh, thank you.
Looks like the entirety of the field is back down for tires. Will it be 2 or 4? We will wait and see. Burner will get back onto the lead lap. The 15th. No, excuse me, that's the 05, the all-black Weston Ward car that slid through his box. That's going to cost him a couple of positions potentially as they make their way out of pit road. Right side tires being taken for some cars. Rowe will be the first to release himself off the lane, followed then by Dylan Courtney. The rest of the cars seem to be taking 4. Parker McDonald, long stop for him. He's going to roll off in 8th position. That's a big loss for him.
Yeah, but one interesting thing I was looking about Parker McDonald's pit stops, looking from this angle, he's taking a little bit extra fuel, it looks like, and the tires are taking a little bit longer to go up in the jacks than the other drivers are. Maybe getting some repairs into the car that might affect the balance of the car whenever you try to go into the turn in or turn out of the corner. So Parker just trying to make his due diligence and make sure the car is clean and crisp to battle whenever we get the green flag.
Should be next time, excuse me, with 2 laps after this. That might be day done for Brent Seegers, I believe. We will wait and see. Not being a good day for the 51 car. As Benny, the pace car driver, is getting plenty of attention. He will be loving this. You've got Barney in the flag stand, you've got Benny in the pace car, and of course Steve and Dale somewhere around the track here, watching on and enjoying this East Coast Thunder Esports Winter Showdown. The 300 laps here at the 5 Flags Speedway, getting closer and closer to the halfway marker. You're looking like having a nice green flag run. Our hopes will be we continue that this time around. It's a new race leader. It's Alexander Rowe alongside with Dylan Courtney as the pace cars onto pit lane. We are racing once more. Big checkup from Courtney on the outside line. Robert Taylor takes advantage to work his way up into second. Here comes the chasing pack though, 2x2, 3 rows deep for 4th on back.
Yeah, Courtney, I think, tried to guess whenever Rowe was actually going to go into the green flag, and Courtney nearly spun Taylor around, but he gets now spun around and downplates loose.
That's a big one. The 19's the next car that's ended up on its lid. It involves a whole bunch of fast race cars. Here's a look from the aerial angle. Brought to us by ATVO, graphics partner at RaceSpotTV. The 66 just got loose and they had nowhere to go. Low bobbled high. The 22 rear-ended him, forced him down the track into the 19. 2 very quick cars getting mixed up there. Bradley Erickson and Parker McDonald.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of a, I'm trying to find premonition or Requiem for Doom, or what happened to the number 66 at first, and everybody else just bundled up together and got funneled in and eventually made contact. Let's look what happened from Caden Fish's perspective. You can see Courtney bumping Taylor. I think that was Ericsson bumping then Taylor right after, and Caden Fisher has nothing to do with it. Basically just staying on his lane, lifting up the gas, might have applied some brakes in it, and just kept the car clean and got lots of spots.
And so this would be caution 9, Lorenzo?
Yeah.
Rose onto pit road, so is Taylor in the 66. Ericsson has been stationary for 70 seconds and counting. That's one of the fastest cars in the field. You have to wonder what's happened there. Parker McDonald has retired from the race. The pole position winner, who led a majority of the race, has retired from this event. Shocking.
Shocking.
The question will be, is Bradley Erickson done as well?
I wouldn't be surprised. I think he's coming back, but I think he might be in a similar position to say, no, actually, Ericsson retires the car. He's out.
Dylan Courtney's retired as well. Blade Timmons is gone. All 4 of the cars that were mixed up in that most recent caution are out of today's race. That is shocking and turns this race on its head, because McDonald and Ericsson, potential race winners. Timmons and Courtney were looking impressive as well, but now they won't have a chance to fight to the end. Word from pit lane is Ericsson blew his motor.
That's an F.
Now that is shocking, and we are down now to 8 cars on the lead lap. Brent Seegers is back out there. 18 laps down, but bit by bit will try and work his way to a potential top 10 finish. In fact, he doesn't have to do much. He's just got to hang out and survive. Very poor restart there. Almost a check-up. Constantine on the outside line, but Rogers across the line brings us back to the green. Fisher, Grassi, Silvio, and Ward, the top 5, as they squabble side by side for 4th and 5th spots.
Yeah, and let's look who's going to be, if they're going to be able to keep it at least one lane. No, it doesn't look like it, but Caden Fisher trying to go on the aggression on Nick Rogers, going into the inside. Doesn't look like he's going to get that run. He's going to tuck back a little bit and just be patient and try to find another opening.
Top 2 breaking away as that side by side between the 3 and the 05. Maybe the 05 is the new favorite as he makes contact with Grassi, who rides the wall. Hopefully the caution's going to refrain from flying, and Grassi gets that one collected just in time. Lap 124 in the books. A long, long way to go.
It's still a long, long way to go, and both cars getting a little bit wild, but the now worse for Grassi. Yellow flag is going to come out. Doesn't look like it.
And he pulls himself off the track in time, and the caution gets thrown manually by race control. This is turning in to a Royal Rumble.
Well, we are in January.
It's only fitting, isn't it? Here's a look at what happened. So off of the corner, the 3 and the 24 just make the slightest bit of contact, pinches the 66 down. The 51 comes onto the scene of the accident and bumps around the 3.
Yeah, and I kind of feel for for Robert Taylor right there, because he was doing his best to try and avoid that crash, and unfortunately got a little bit of collateral damage on the right-hand side and then left-hand side because he was actually pitched into the wall. Fortunate.
Ward, Taylor, Grassi, they're now on pit lane. Grassi has been there for 60 seconds and counting. It's 3 laps down. Will he come back out onto track? Well, that is the question that we want to get the answer to. Taylor rolls himself off. He's actually still on the lead lap, just about getting back before the leaders and the pace car came around. I don't think any of the cars that are still running haven't been involved in an incident so far, Lorenzo.
Everybody actually had at least some sort of a damage in the car, at least.
We're waiting to go too wide to start this one over again. To answer the question that I've seen in our YouTube chat, this race does not have an incident limit, but there also are no fast repairs. So you get significant damage like we saw for Bradley Erickson blowing the motor. That is a day done, nothing you can do, Lorenzo.
Yeah, unfortunately, and the problem is some of these damages, they're quite extensive for you to try to repair. So instead of being, for example, for, let's just say, 15 seconds to try to repair a fender or something like that, no, you're repairing a fender, then repairing the side of the car. You're stationary for a minute and two just because you have such an accrue of damage that it's tricky, and it might take 2 pit stops so you don't lose a lap.
Grassi is still in pit lane, but is still in the garage, so still may try and salvage a result here. 11 cautions, and we're only 130 laps into this 300-lap affair at the Five Flags Speedway. Look at that bunching of cars as Rogers loses control and causes chaos on the restart. Scenes of shambles across the start-finish line as everyone gets mixed up once more. Watch here from the aerial angle, bobbling left and right. Rogers up the track. 78 car, nothing he could do. Caution is out for the 12th time today. I said this is a Royal Rumble. It might end up being more of a King of the Ring, Lorenzo.
Yeah, it's tricky, man. But to be fair, that was kind of bound to happen because on the last restart, it was basically the same thing, and they only managed to get away unscathed because somehow, some way, Rogers managed to pull the gas out and funnel everybody in. This time around, they try to guess or try to make sure move. And unfortunately, Rogers got the worst end of it.
So, Rogers, Sylvia, Rowan, Ward onto the lane this time. Grassi looks like he may be done. I'm not 100% sure here. And he has left the racetrack. Ryan Grassi is added to the list of retirements. Anyone else be added after our most recent calamity, this time across the start-finish line. Rogers 24 seconds stationary in the lane, Sylvia 28. Weston Ward, who we thought might now be your new race favorite after the retirements of Parker McDonald and Bradley Erickson, is already 2 laps down and continuing to lose laps in the pit lane. Surely, Lorenzo, this time we can go green for a while because there are just not that many cars left on track.
Yeah, we have only 8 cars on track, so Let's see if Burner's gonna be early off the gas, like we saw. I think was with Bradley Erickson that was going off the gas. Parker was either Bradley or Parker that were going early off the gas to try to break away from the tow. And
Weston Ward has retired now as well.
Yeah.
6 cars on the lead lap, 7 still running. On the front row, on this restart, it's Robert Taylor, it's Michael Burner. Both cars have been mixed up in multiple incidents, but here we go. It's a good start from the outside line as they run themselves into turn 1, and Taylor takes the race lead away from Burner. Great launch there to get the momentum and get the run. Here comes Rogers with his own momentum, trying to challenge for 4th spot.
Yeah, and we have a car spinner.
That's Brent Seegers. Caution.
Yeah, well, Seeger spun around.
Yeah, has not brought out the caution. He has managed to get it back pointed and back up to speed. Into turn 1. It's a bit of a train now. Rogers on the outside line. Might get hung out to dry by Sylvia in the 78 car. Sylvia has his own little moment there as well. Out of turn 4, 140 laps in the books here. And Lorenzo, it looks like we might just calm things down for now.
Yeah, we might. Let's see how Sylvia and Rogers' battle is going to issue for the time being, because they got close to it once again. And Burner trying to be the guy who's trying to break away, but unfortunately nearly getting into contact with Sylvia. And now all 6 cars going side by side, battling for positions.
The battle for the lead between Rowe and Taylor. The black car on the inside. Taylor in the white car on the outside line, pinching the 92 all the way to the inside of the corner. But at least for now, Taylor holds strong, but Rowe's got the momentum, forces Taylor up the track. New race leader, the 92 car, and Rogers wants a piece of the action as well. He tries to get second away, but has to hold steady in 3rd.
Yeah, and it does look like that Taylor has a little bit of damage on the back end of the car, and that is affecting the performance going into the corners and made the car a little bit unstable. Look at that again. That was not even bumper related from Caden Fisher. He's just losing time and time and time, lap after lap after lap after lap, and it's funnily becoming a little bit dangerous, the battle for 2nd spot right now.
Rowe is smiling as he builds up the buffer. Rogers gets loose down on the inside. The balance of that car just not in his favor, at least for the time being. He drops back in the pack to 5th position. Only 2 cars came down on that most recent caution cycle. Sylvia and Rogers, they've got the freshest rubber of the entire field, but they get themselves single filed out for now as we get closer and closer to the halfway point.
As we go into lap 148, and Robert Taylor still holding the field pretty much tightly, and Caden Fisher trying to go in, and unfortunately not being able to get the run that he wants on Robert Taylor, and now got to try on the inside.
Good view for Sylvia in the black and red car behind. Which way does he go? Does he follow the outside? Does he follow the inside? Because Rogers is coming as well. He needs to make that determination. Getting loose as Rogers just behind Sylvia will go down to the inside and force the 78 up the track, who bobbles into Taylor. Taylor now drops outside of the top 5 as well. It is still rather hectic, and the 66 returns the favor to Sylvia, bumps him through turn 4. The 78 holds onto the car as they work their way into turn 1 and 2.
Yeah, and you can see Taylor trying to dive down on the inside. Sylvia gave the room towards the inside for Taylor to go in, try to make the overtake, but you just can see that because Sylvia car looks cleaner in comparison to Taylor's car, he's been able to defend without too much of a hassle. Meanwhile, 1 second separated between Rowe and Fisher, and there's no signal that any of them, unless something happens, and it did happen for Rowe, that now Fisher and Rogers are close.
Rowe pulling away, but Fisher has closed. It's now down to a 1/4 of a second for the race lead. We still watch Sylvia, though, embroiled with Taylor and Burner. Remember, 6 cars left on the leading lap. Brent Seeger's the other car circulating as 66 dives down to the inside, is not taking no for an answer, and he'll take 4th position back away from Sylvia.
Yeah, but Sylvia fights on the inside once again. Will he touch Taylor going to the outside? He kind of pinches him on the backstretch, now pinches him again on the outside. Taylor fights back, gives a little bit of a bump going outside of turn number 4, and Sylvia goes back into position again, and now Taylor spun around.
Will it bring out the caution? He is in the middle of the track, and there it is. 12 on the day so far. We have at least passed the halfway point of this race. Once more, we'll slow things down and we'll take a look here at what happened. The 24 was alongside into the inside. The 66 just tries to squeeze him a touch too far. And well, more contact, more cautions. Rowe leads the field onto pit lane once more. You suspect that most cars would take 4 tires. Maybe we'll see the likes of Sylvia, maybe Burner take 2 tires.
I think everybody's going to go for 4 here just because there's so little cars on track.
But as we've just seen, Lorenzo, the fact that we've got few cars doesn't mean we're not going to see cautions.
That's true. That's true.
Looks like at least a couple of cars are up on the left side. Jack's getting rubber on those tires. 66 of Robert Taylor elects not to take those though. He rolls off now in the race lead. Rowe, Rogers, Fisher, Burner, and Sylvia through the top 6.
Yeah, Taylor will go back into the lead, but looks like from my end, there's still some damage on that car on the front left. It looks like.
So we are done with 157 laps. Still a long way to go. The hope will be that we can calm things down from this point forward. Even with the small field, these drivers have been racing each other pretty close and pretty intensely. You have to remember, still a long way to go. And it's probably a good thing, Lorenzo, that as far as we understand, there is no tire limit because we'd have blown right past it.
Yeah, easily. If they had a budget, that budget would be, you know, done, dusted, and probably not going to be used for at least another decade.
Yeah, for sure. Well, they should form themselves up 2 by 2 this time by. Brent Seeger's still 17 laps behind, despite the fact that he's gotten a couple of wave arounds these most recent caution cycles.
Wondering how Taylor's going to restart over here, because we've seen the funneling happening constantly over here.
I think this is going to be an interesting restart where Rogers on the inside will want to try and make something happen. Pace car is off once more. Let's turn the sounds up. Let's listen to the engines here at the Five Flag Speedway. Control from Alexander Rowe, who holds on to the 92 after being bumped through the corner. He's now dropped back, but he's still in contention. Update as well, William Krushka, who is 152 laps down, is back on track, Lorenzo.
Yeah, back on track, and since everybody else above him is actually out of the race, definitely going to move from last spot to, if he keeps it on track for the remainder of the race, of course, into PA.
Yeah, could be having a top 10, but he would actually have to finish all the laps from here, basically. Doesn't have much margin of error as the yellow's out once more. What's happened here? It's Brent Seeger's again, and it's a solo incident for him, just down on the apron. Oh, who was that? That's Krushka. Yeah, I think that's William Krushka. So at least it wasn't one of the 6 cars on the lead lap, but unfortunate for Krushka, who, you know, after all of that time and a full hour of repairs, finds himself back on track with more damage now. Car on pit lane, it's Sylvia, followed in by Rowe. Not sure what the strategy is here, of maybe at least for Rowe, there's some damage repair being taken after that moment he had that sent him spinning wide. Krushka's gonna get a couple of laps back as well. Watch as Burner warms his tires by weaving back and forth. Cars sit quite low to the ground. A lot of the downforce is built up by the underbody of the car. Sometimes you can compare the cornering speeds here to something like a 6th generation NASCAR Cup Series car. So it's a pretty impressive kit, pretty impressive machine. 550 horsepower. So even the tracks that it tends to race around as well, plenty of horsepower. As a stepping stone for drivers on the ladder to the NASCAR Cup Series. Haven't gotten to see green flag pit stops just yet. Hopefully we're in for one soon, because that is going to be a treat. And we'll wait and see how difficult it is to get down onto pit lane without causing any chaos, because the narrow hole that you're aiming for to try and get back onto, to get down onto the lane, not much of a margin for error, Lorenzo.
Yeah, not much of a margin for error. And an update about Krushka is this is interesting. I've never seen that being done before. Since you have a length repair, he basically took a shower to maybe cool things off and got back into the car, and then unfortunately found himself having to repair it again about 10 laps in.
Actually, he hasn't come down onto pit lane, so he hasn't taken any repairs there. So Taylor leads the race. Caden Fisher alongside. Michael Burner and Nick Rogers behind him on row number 2. Jake Sylvia and Alexander Rowe. Row 3, while Brent Seegers is still 17 laps down, has not made much headway there. Pushka has at least gained 1 position from where he was when he rolled back onto track. We're racing once more at the 5 Flag Speedway. Good start from Taylor, controls the field in towards turn number 1. Rogers got past Michael Burner, who's now being swarmed by Jake Sylvia as well. Single foul will go, except for Alexander Rowe diving it down to the inside, trying to pass the number 24 car.
Yeah, and looks like Caden Fisher is trying to be playing the patient game and looking for lanes to try to get that run in. Now nearly going to the back bumper of the number 66 of Robert Taylor, and let's see what the number 19 is going to do. He finds the opening on the inside and dives the dive in. Looks like it. 18 goes in.
Runs his way around the white line, painting the shortest distance around the track. This time through 3 and 4, he washes up very slightly. Rogers gets loose once more. That car just not handling nicely in the number 9 machine. We've seen him be loose on a number of occasions. We're seeing him loose once more. Battle for first, though, continues to be side by side. Taylor trying to pinch, not able to do so, and this time across the line, Caden Fisher had the race lead for a moment. He forces the 66 up wide. He's going to get freight trained. Here comes Nick Rogers.
Yeah, basically it is a mirror of what happened. It was actually up in front of everybody and trying to play aggressive moves, aggressive defensive moves towards everybody else. And not working out. You can see now Rowe basically bumped Taylor to the outside, and now the 66 has to come back around, and something happened to Rogers because now Sylvia is in P2.
I think Rogers is just very, very loose and not feeling at home with this car at this point in time. Rogers will come under fire from Taylor, who's gone from the race lead down into 5th in the matter of 5 or so laps. At least for now, though. things are looking steady, and hopefully we can get to lap 200 before we get what will likely be our 13th or 14th caution of the day.
Yeah.
Oh, having said that, Rogers, a very sideways contact with the 66 car, locks it down just in time. Will at least stay green for now.
At least stay green for now, but we know the number 9 car is going to have their tire shot immediately. And there's a little bit of a gap between Taylor and Rogers as we speak. The only car closer to Rogers is Michael Berner. And Berner is going to try to take advantage of the situation.
So it's a long way to go, but at least for now, they have calmed it down very, very slightly. Down below the white line for a moment was Rowe, who's fought his way back up to the front. I'm hearing there's some chatter going on over the radio as well. I'm sure that this will be primed for a NASCAR radioactive, Lorenzo.
Yeah, it's gonna. I really want to see what they're talking about, but I'm wondering if they're using any expletives.
I'm going to try and listen in. That's what I'm going to try and do. Make this a little bit more interesting if we can try and follow along with the teams and drivers. Up front, top two bit by bit pulling away. Now almost half a straightaway and clear of the 78 car as Rowe runs in the tire track of Caden Fisher. Battle for the race lead is between the 18 and the 92 as we are really starting to get in towards a rhythm here with these 6 cars. Fisher's now looking slow. Not as slow is probably the wrong word, but he's feeling the pressure from behind.
Yeah, let's see. Is Caden going to be able to defend this properly from Rowe? There's a little bit of a bump from the 92 and the 18, but Fisher doesn't get faced one bit by that bump, and let's see if Rowe's going to play that intimidator again. All black car is going to come in and just going to try to take advantage of the run. He's going to get on the inside.
I think Rowe apologized over the radio for that moment there. It's one of the great things that you have here on iRacing is the ability to talk to everyone. Well, I say great thing, it's probably also not a great thing at times as well. It's one of the things you have on iRacing.
It's a two-edged sword.
Yeah, exactly. It's a two-way street. You can either be nice, you can can also be quite mean. Looking rearwards from the race leader though. Battle for the lead continues to intensify. Sylvia's not being dropped as fast as he was initially though. He's in no man's land in third. Taylor and Rogers squabbling for fourth behind him. About 1.3 seconds separate third and fourth as we jump on board with Alexander Rowe and watch the line that he's running. Smooth hand. You can see a bit of oversteer happening here. We may see a caution fly once more. The 66 has had a moment, and indeed it's another caution. Robert Taylor, I believe, a solo car incident for the number 66 car.
Yeah, let's see on the replay what happened with the 66 because it looks like it was just coming out. It goes way too hot into turn number 3 and then gets boxed in on the outside, just bumping to the wall. Stays for a little bit on the outside, issues the yellow flag, and then immediately comes out after the yellow flag is waved around.
I have now officially lost track of the number of cautions that we've had, Lorenzo.
I lost track of time a decade ago.
We were probably getting close to 20, at least some point soon. We'll reach that magic marker. Should have everyone onto pit road this time around. Kushka, by the way, did pull it in a couple of laps prior. Might be day done for him, not 100% sure. He's been there for 90 seconds and counting. Is into the lane. All 6 cars, right side tires at the very least. Will they get left side tires? We're about to find out as a couple of the cars are taking the left sides. Dropping early, Caden Fisher rolls himself, looks at Robert Taylor, the only car electing only to take the right side tires. That is a bold call. We'll see how it works.
Yeah, just trying to take a look on since this race is based upon the Winter Derby of sort of on the Snowball Derby. Just trying to find if there were any trivia about the most yellow flags that happened on the Snowball Derby.
Yeah, I remember the Winter Derby was a bit stop and start, but I don't remember it being as rough as this one. I mean, if we go green from here to the end, we're still looking at 30 minutes, which I think is probably a bit optimistic.
I agree.
Well, we'll find out. Still single file as we wait to form ourselves up for the formation.
Oh, interesting. Didn't know that Chase Elliott was the youngest winner in the Snowball Derby history.
Some chatter on the radio about the incident we've just seen. We'll see if anything comes as a result of it. It is rather feisty though right now, even with just 6 cars out on track. And we are looking at a fun fight between Fisher and Rowe. If Rowe can work his way up towards the front, we'll see some interesting fighting going on for the lead.
And Taylor's car on the back still heavily battered, and in the front, on the front legs, looks like it sees some attrition, it looks like. But that back, I'll be very honest, if Taylor doesn't get that repaired, he's gonna be basically a sitting duck once again.
Interesting word as well from Taylor is he's only taken right side tires the entirety of this race. Is that contributing to his instability? Well, we'll find out soon, because back under green, Fisher leads the field in towards turn number 1. Rogers to the inside of the 66 car. Sylvia has to make a decision. Can he slot in behind Rogers, or is he going to try and go the long way around on the 66 car? Rogers goes deep and clears himself off of Sylvia, but gets loose and will drop back to 4th. Meanwhile, Taylor, look at this, really putting the pressure on the 18 car.
Yeah, trying to apply that pressure, but we've seen Taylor being very hot on the first few laps of the tire. The problem is he starts to drop off a little bit on the pace, but can he keep it up? I think he gets a little bit of a bump on the 18. Will be on the inside. Can he seal the deal?
Looks like, at least for now, Taylor has cleared himself, but you can see bobbling once more off the corner. Quick hand to save that car. Taylor to the race lead in front of Fisher, Sylvia, Rowe, and Berner through the top 5. I heard something over the radio. Did Brent Seegers have his own little moment? I think he did, but we stay under green. Good news here at the Five Flag Speedway.
As we're about to reach 2/3 of the race done. So here we go. A little bit more, lap 200, and one more lap will be 2/3 of the race done, Arjuna. And just about 100 laps more, and things looks like are going to get feisty more than usual.
And look at how we are really looking at a train. 4 cars separated by half a second. Berner and Rogers just a little bit further back. Down in through turn 2, despite the fact that he's only been taking right side tires, Taylor at least is looking better this time around. You can see he's arcing the corner just that little bit more, leaning on the right side tires, but he'll lose control once more, coming out of turn number 4, and Taylor will drop himself to the tail end of the cars on the lead lap. And the caution is back out once more.
That's on you, Arjuna.
Yeah, no, that's probably my fault.
Yeah. Normally, it takes a commentator that kills people with words to
know one.
Yeah, to know one. Precisely. As a counterpart, though, I think that might finally make Taylor. I hope it does, because now, given the fact that we've seen this kind of a close race and not too many people on track, Taylor can have this car fully repaired in it as Sylvia, Rowe, Rogers, and Taylor come to the pit into the pit lane, get some repair, fuel, and tire on the cars.
Fisher and Berner have not come down. Fisher's looking okay. I don't think that's a bad idea. Berner as well gets him some track position, and we've seen him juking it out at the front. Bit of contact has sent him backwards to 103 laps in the books, and we'll try and count the cautions at some point today because I just want to have a number. I'm just interested at this point in time.
No, I'm curious, Paul.
Yeah, no, we lost track a while back, but the hope really is.
We're still in the tens. We're still in the tens.
Yes, no, that's for sure. I think we're probably close to 17, 18 maybe.
Yeah, I would say 17 is a more realistic number.
Somewhere around that. But I do think, as you know, we're in for a good finish to the end here, or we can just keep it clean and go green, because again, this is not going to have a NASCAR green-white checkered rule. I don't believe we will. So we'll be finishing once we reach lap 300. Once the checkered flag is out, the checkered flag is out. There's not going to be any extra laps. And I tell you what, Fisher is, so having so much fun, he's decided to phase into the pace car.
I think he's trying to give him a bump trap to try to make him go faster.
I don't blame him, because you remember, you go from 16 and a bit second lap times up to 38 second lap times. It's a bit slow.
Yeah, for me the weird thing is seeing a sedan and an American truck being the pace car. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's just unusual.
How much more unusual would it be if we had the Porsche safety car?
That would be. Yeah, I see where you're getting at.
Yeah, it could be worse. It could be worse.
It could be worse.
Believe we'll form up 2 by 2 this time by. Indeed we are. So Lorenzo, if you have to pick one of these cars on the lead lap.
Win?
Yes, I think it's probably between Rowe and Fisher in terms of outright speed, but we know that's probably not the be-all and end-all here.
I would say Sylvia.
Oh, interesting call, just because he got the best number in all of racing. Once more, we pick up the throttle. Slow start from, I believe it was Robert Taylor. Nick Rogers is down 1 lap. He had to spend 60 seconds in the pit lane. Not sure exactly what happened there for him. Maybe some damage that we missed. But already, bit of a moment for Brent Seegers, and caution flies instantly.
Yeah, and look, and just real quick on the restart, Arjuna, Rowe basically bumping Fisher to try to get him going, and don't funnel in.
Are we gonna see cars onto the pit lane? Looks like Rowe is committed. Yeah, Rowe's in. So is Sylvia. Taylor's got quite a bit of damage, on the front end of his car. I'm a bit surprised he didn't come in.
Same.
Well, tempers are beginning to flare. I can tell you that on the in-race radio. The number 9 is not impressed with the 66, blames him for being 1 lap down. And I tell you what, they're babbling so much that race control has said enough is enough and has turned off the radio for some of these drivers, Lorenzo. Probably not a bad idea, since we've still got a long way in this race to go.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, I like the banter, but there is a certain point where
it crosses the line.
Yeah, it crosses the line. Just focus on the race.
I'm not saying I haven't been responsible for some inappropriate radio message. Although, to be fair, I haven't really said it on the radio. I just remember when I raced in the Sports Car Open Endurance Series that I remember one of the Now Team Redline drivers came and put me a lap. We weren't on the same class. He was in an LMP1 car, I was in an LMP2, but he was passing me and lapping me, and I was not happy with how he lapped me. I might have used some free language on my stream, and the funniest part was that same driver then came and messaged me with the clip of me saying what I had said after the race.
Oof.
Fortunately, he wasn't too irritated, but that's just the way it goes. Tempers flare, whether it be real racing or virtual.
I mean, I've said nowadays I don't do that anymore. Only if I'm actually really, really, really heated. Just because like you have a bad day and you just burps it out, and it does. I mean, it's part of the human nature. Sometimes it just burps it out. But I basically took a stance, I think, in the last 2 or 3 years to avoid toxicity from anything. Just try to be less toxic, you know, just try to help the individual, you know, or try to give pointers and things like that.
Yeah, it would be wise if I don't race much anymore, but it would be wise if I turned it off. But here we go, ready to race once more on the outside line. Taylor causes chaos instantly. Oh my word, it's another multi-car pileup. The 66 got loose and was slow coming to the restart. And we've got a number of cars that have been mixed up there. I can tell you that Jake Sylvia has been disqualified from the race. What happened here that caused that incident? I don't, oh, okay. That's some retribution.
Yeah, most def.
Yeah, I was wondering what happened there, and then you see the replay and it's crystal clear.
Yeah, it's like, are we surprised to see, after what you've been saying about the tempers being being heated up?
No, I don't. But I admire that Race Control was right on it and didn't even need a second invitation. They were ready. They gave him his marching orders as soon as possible, and that means that for Jake Sylvia, he is done for today's race, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's not necessarily welcome back for future events. Well, it does mean we're down to 5 cars on the lead lap now. 6 cars out there and running. Taylor is onto the pit lane. He'll get that damage repaired. Michael Berner is in as well, the 2 white machines.
Just taking a quick look over here. Krushka, if he remains on track, he needs to get the laps back, which I don't think he might be able to in time. He would be 6th place.
Yeah, I don't think that's happening, though.
6th place, yeah. It's not going to happen. Is anyone laps down from Courtney? Nah, he wouldn't be able to. I just made the mathematics. I fumbled up a little bit. But yeah, he's not in the best of spots.
No, he's not. Unfortunate for him as well. The incident that he was mixed up with on the start was none of his fault either. Just a shame that he wasn't able to get the damage repaired quickly enough to roll back out. Had probably a nice shower and then came back to have another shower.
Yeah. A very cold one, I think, on this one.
Yeah, I think the second one's probably quite cold.
Yeah, and it might be even more cold depending where he is right now.
Oh, true. Yeah, there's record cold temperatures in part of the US. I can tell you that at least in the Bay Area where I am, it was quite nice today. I got to wear shorts in January.
You live in... I was going to say, you live in the Bay Area. You got lucky, man.
I'm very happy. I am not a fan of cold weather. The first time I saw snow was when I actually went to college in Pennsylvania. That was a shock. I learned that you can't wear flip-flops in the snow. Well, you can. You
can if you want to lose your fingers.
And if you want your friends to be really mean to you and kick snow onto your toes. But here we go, back to the green. Hopefully this time we can stay green for a while. Berner and Taylor side by side with Rogers watching on behind. Remember, 5 cars on the lead lap. And realistically, it's between Fisher and Rowe in terms of out-and-out pace, out-and-out comfort. They're building a buffer already, half a second between second and third. Rogers goes the long way around. Oh, Fisher! Fisher lost control all by himself, and caution is back out once more.
And that wasn't a very small impact. That was a big impact from Fisher going outside of turn number 1. Was this assisted? By himself.
Was it assisted?
It was.
Okay, I want to get an onboard if we can with the 92 Alexander Rowe, because I wonder if there was just a hint of air in between the 2 cars. I wonder if that wasn't as firm of a touch as it looked as though from that TV angle. But ultimately, I'm thinking that's likely race done. Here, watch on board the 92 car. No, okay, that was contact, and Rowe has been given an end-of-line penalty for that, which, you know, at the start of this race would have been a more significant penalty. Now it's not so bad.
Not so bad at all. And Fisher in the pit lane as we speak, trying to get those repairs done in the car. I'm just wondering if Fisher was slightly loose and allowed Rowe to make the contact, albeit unintentionally, but still mind-boggling.
Yep, that is incredible. Poor Fisher. 26 seconds in the box. He is back on track. I do believe has still significant damage across of his car. Sorry for going quiet for a sec there. I was listening to race control. They are going to be a bit more strict now. If you cause cautions, you will get more and more penalties, increasing in severity. So hopefully we can get the last 75 laps of this race under our belt without too much more drama. But the form book suggests otherwise. To quote Senor Lewis McClade, some of these restarts have been suboptimal.
Yeah, suboptimal to say the very least. And we know basically Taylor is gonna... It's gonna be those things. Taylor's gonna be basically real aggressive coming out of the gate on that restart. Is gonna try to be aggressive, try to defend maybe from Nick Rogers on the outside. So it's gonna be a very interesting restart, to put it mildly.
Well, so we are down now to 5 cars on the lead lap. Taylor and Rogers the first 2, Burner and Fisher row 2. Well, Alexander Rowe, after the end of line penalty, has dropped down to 5th position. I think Robert Taylor has so much time on his hand. He's jumping in to the YouTube chat, so glad to have him part of the company. 3 wide into turn number 1. Instantly, Fisher is up and over. After what we just heard from race control, shocked that we saw that level of aggression, and poor old Caden Fisher once more involved in an incident.
Now let's look on the replay to see what happened again with Caden Fisher going from one way out. And let's see on the restart.
That's Rowe. That's Alexander Rowe, who was very physical on the run in towards turn number 1. And Rowe, after multiple incidents, is the latest car to be disqualified.
Yeah, slightly shocking. Let's look on the replay again. I mean, Burner gets a very bad start, but the aggressiveness going to turn number 1, basically not giving any lane 2 for Burner, and basically pinches him out going outside, and there was Caden Fisher on the outside and basically shunts it into the wall.
Then there were 4. Robert Taylor, Nick Rogers, Michael Burner, and Caden Fisher. Fisher's going to come down onto pit lane and try and get more of that damage fixed. Poor Caden Fisher. I mean, come on. That first incident was not his fault at all. Let's be completely clear. That second incident, not his fault at all either.
No, you know what's the more... I don't know if you could say appalling or like... I'm trying to find a better word here. It's not the more impressive thing about Fisher is that his first incident, he got flipped around.
Yes.
He was upside down.
And then he did it again.
Yeah.
Poor guy. Hopefully he's not in virtual reality.
Oh.
Yeah, because that second one would have been quite bad.
I'm trying... or like Jordan Taylor. Be in a motion rig, then you get flipped around.
That's hilarious, though. That was so funny. For those who don't know what Lorenzo is referring to, Jordan Taylor, aka Rodney Sandstorm, was in his Simcraft motion rig, and didn't it go upside down, or did it just fall apart? I forget the exact details.
He fell apart.
Yeah, well, it fell apart and he ended up like on his side as well. That was probably a costly thing.
Yeah, a few big bucks over there.
Yep. So, formed themselves up 2 by 2 again. From the 16 that started, it has really whittled down in a race full of attrition. Caden Fisher, surely, if he's got any speed left in that car, might be looking to get the chrome horn out here now.
Yep.
Front row, Rogers and Taylor. Burner and Fisher behind him. Brent Seegers has a good view of the action as Taylor brings us back to the green once more. 232 laps in the books, coming down into the closing stages of this East Coast Thunder eSports Winter Showdown. Good clean start as they single file themselves out. No changes in the running order other than Fisher getting past Burner on the restart. Pretty steady amongst the top 4. Rogers looks to have a slightly different line to Fisher behind him, and Fisher's got some speed in that car. No matter how dinged up it is, clearly still rapid.
Yeah, clearly still rapid, but still very loose in the entry of turn number 1 is that number 66 car, up to the point that now Rogers is trying to find a way in on the inside with cleaner lines.
Rogers closing bit by bit. Of course, we mentioned earlier that Taylor had only taken right side tires for a vast majority of this race. He gets loose once more, drifts up the track to try and block the run from Rogers, but bit by bit, Rogers is closing. He goes to the inside. Oh, and Taylor loses it again. Once more, Taylor has lost control of his car. Fisher has scrambled in front of Rogers, but don't expect that to hold. They should reshuffle those positions. Now let's take a look at the replay from this aerial angle once more. There was contact this time.
It does look like that Robert Taylor came into Rogers' line, though.
No, and Rogers doesn't. I'm just listening over the radio. Rogers doesn't believe there was contact, but I regret to inform him there definitely was.
Oh, there was. I just mean, like, I know Rogers was on the inside whenever that Taylor came in on the outside, as Taylor is now into the pit lane trying to get some repair done and tires as well. He merges, I think, into the number 9 line, but it's so tricky. Like I said, those short ovals, you need that spacing. I'll be very honest. Even triple screens sometimes doesn't help you in those races. Sometimes I think they might get in the way of sorts.
Interesting. One thing that we really have noticed, especially having watched some of the virtual Le Mans coverage today, is that I don't think I saw a single driver in virtual reality, Lorenzo. And you know, even if I look at the World Championship scene here on iRacing, there was Stilian Chepelevsky, the rallycross driver a couple of years ago that raced in VR. He's the only one that I can think of that consistently was in VR. Everyone else elected to run usually triple screens. At the minimum, they'd run, at least nowadays, they'd run on a widescreen, an ultra widescreen, 49 inches. Of course, our producer Hugo Louise, the 2011 iRacing World Champion in open wheel machinery, will talk to us about, oh, in my day, I raced on a 19-inch single stream monitor with a G27. But it's not the way things go anymore.
I thought it was a G25, but anyway.
Probably. You know what I'm saying.
Yeah. I know what you're trying to go at. But
Hugo's not happy that I'm throwing shots at him either.
Yeah. But then again, I know it's a preferred thing. I just say it gets in the way sometimes because it's like I would say it's a horse blinders effect, that you're trying to get your focus on your lane and your lane only. That sometimes having the bezels in or the side screens might get in your way, that a spotter might be better to do that job for you.
You mentioned the bezels. You now have those kits from the likes of Asus ROG, if I remember correctly, one of the partners of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series, that basically try and hide the bezels. So, I mean, I saw the setup from Boosted Media, for example, where he's running 65-inch TVs, 3 of them, and uses those bezel. It looks great. But back on track, back to green. Rogers gets a little bit loose out of turn number 4. Might open the door for Fisher, who is side by side coming out of turn number 2.
And might get the run on the outside, looks like it.
Rogers gets squeezed, holds onto his car just about, but Fisher back to the point and once more leads this race. Diving down to the inside was Robert Taylor on Michael Berner. I don't know how they avoided calamity there as Rogers tries to get physical on Fisher.
And Fisher getting a little bit loose on the outside of turn number 4. Now it looks like Rogers gets a little bit of on the bumper of Fisher, but Fisher still retaining that lead for now.
For now, top 2 holds side by side as looks like Seeger's lost control coming out of turn 4. We shouldn't get the caution out. The cone on pit exit has gone for a ride as Fisher goes for a wobble there himself. Rogers closes bit by bit. Right up on the bumper is the number 9 car as they come across the start-finish line. We're reaching 50 laps to go, and Rogers dives down to the inside, but Fisher maintains his momentum.
And they do it for nearly 50 laps though.
Well, they bumped and banged, opened the door for Robert Taylor to look to the outside line, looking on board with the 66 car, who's got a great view of what's going on in front of him. Watch the arc that we're seeing from Fisher. Taylor going to get the move done on Rogers, not able to come down and try and challenge for the race lead. Still going on side by side for second.
Here you can see the difference of the 66 car towards the number 9 Nick Rogers car. Looked crisp and clean as now Taylor goes on the inside of Caden Fisher, goes with a little bit of an aggression move, tries to make sure that the 18 is as wide as he can possibly be towards the outside. Oh!
Taylor loops it almost. He holds onto that car once more. Some great car control on display. That will drop him back in the pack. Has to do all that hard work over again. And I was just about to point out that the 66 car has got the freshest of the tires. He is 10 laps into the stint after coming down onto pit road. That compares to 48 for Rogers, to 35 for Michael Berner, to 22 for Caden Fisher. But here comes the 9 to the inside, fighting for the race lead.
Yeah, but looks like Fisher still looking strong on the outside, trying to retain the position, but a really good battle between Rogers and Fisher. But now Rogers, I think, with the half a car length ahead, and the number 9 might go back into the lead.
Not able to slide on through, but might be able to do so through turn 1. They're still just about overlapping with one another as they exit off of the corner. Within 50 laps to go, we're getting that green flag run. Yes, there aren't many cars left on track, but it's exciting amongst those that are still in the fight for the win here in the East Coast Thunder eSports Winter Showdown. Rogers has control of the lead. Taylor is cleared on Berner. He's 1 second back, though, from this fight for first.
Yeah, and nearly still side by side, both Taylor and Berner. But the problem is they are getting themselves separated from the number 9 and the number 18. So it's slowly becoming a two-way battle for the victory here as we are going to lap 266 out of 3.
We do expect, at the very least, Nick Rogers will have to pit before we get to the checkered flag. At least that's the expectation. Is that the reality? We will find out. Looks like Berner had his own little bubble. He's now 1 second back from Robert Taylor, who's got some clean air to try and close bit by bit on these two out front. Rogers from Fisher, from Taylor from Berner. Still plenty of racing to go.
Still plenty of racing to go as they're slowly starting to become a little bit of a separation between Rogers and Fisher. Last lap, 16.990 for Nick Rogers and 16.952 for Fisher. But the problem is Fisher got loose on the entry of turn number 1 and slowly losing ground towards the number 9 car.
Lost about 2.5 tenths last time by as he gets sideways once more. Caden Fisher's car is hanging all sorts of loose. That's more Formula Drift car than a Super Late model. Those tires will be screaming out in agony. And meanwhile, while the gap for the lead opens up, here comes Taylor slowly closing on that fight for second.
And like you said, he has the better tires right at Juna, so why not take the opportunity to take second place away from the number 18? And here comes 66, screaming through the back bumper of the number 18. So I would say it's a matter of maybe 2 to 3 laps before the 66 is side by side.
Will that cost them more time? Taylor has closed 3/10 on the leader. Still 1.7 back, is now within 40 laps to go. Down the back straightaway, closing bit by bit, running up a groove higher as he tries to arc the corner, get the momentum, and try and find a way past the number 18 car, who's still got plenty of damage, but holds the inside line and covers off the move. If there's going to be a pass, it's going to be a dive down to the inside early into the entry of the corner, or a lunge around the outside.
I think from my perspective, he scrubbed the tires on the outside of going outside of turn number 2 for a little bit. Taylor, a little bit of a bump between both of them.
Bit by bit, the gap that Taylor had closed opens back up. Now 1.8 between first and second spot. Burner is out of the picture. He is 9 seconds back. As Fisher goes around. I missed if there was contact there, Lorenzo.
There was.
Well, we saw just how loose Caden Fisher's car was. Is that enough? He's slow on entry. You can see that car was unstable, but the 66 comes barreling on in. Would not be shocked if that's going to be an end-of-line penalty, and indeed it will be end-of-line penalty to the 66 car. We will see all the cars onto pit lane this time by for the final time today before fresh tires, and these are important tires that they cannot afford to burn through.
No, they cannot afford to burn through as Burner's going to be out for one more lap.
Interesting call. Interesting call, that's for sure. So Burner is 51 laps into his run, and given the speed that he was running, I am shocked.
Here are left-hand side tires again. Right-hand side tires
only.
again. Yeah.
Burner comes in this time by, so I was like, oh, why isn't he gonna come in? That seems like a risky call, to put it mildly, but he will elect to pit. There's some chatter on the radio as to the black flag. They're getting that sorted right now as the Burner Motorsports 24 car. The right side tires for him. Will he take lefts as well? Surely he will, because there's not going to be a major impact. There he goes, up on the jacks for those left side tires. When we get back, it should be 29 or 28 laps to run. We're looking at an estimated 9 or so minutes if we keep it clean to the end. And I think at this point, Lorenzo, that's easier said than done. These drivers have been wound up tight and, well, they are ready to be set loose.
You're ready to be set loose. It's kind of like a tiger. You're trying to let a tiger out of the cage. You know, he's hungry. He wants to get his prey. So, or let him out into the wild. Go and get your prey in, and it's going to be a little bit tricky one for you to negotiate. It's going to be wild. You know, I think they're going to restart this with 30 laps to go. Question is, can they keep this for 30 laps under the green flag?
They will be forming up 2 by 2. Do we get one more lap? That's the question, because right now we go back with 29 laps. Lights are off, so it will be 29 laps until we finish this race. Only the top two are side by side because of that end of line penalty for Taylor. Should clear himself, I think, try and get past Burner as quickly as possible. Fisher on the outside with Rogers in control, who picks up the throttle very early on. 29 laps to go here in the East Coast Thunder Esports Winter Showdown. All four of these cars with fresh rubber. How do they make it work? Taylor didn't take left side tires and once more is up on the outside line.
Yeah, going up on the outside line, just
oh!
on the inside. Oh no!
Burner loops it around by himself. Will that bring out the caution? He gets it spun around in time. We're staying green, at least for the time being. Three cars fighting for the win. Rogers from Fisher from Taylor. Which way is it gonna go? Across the line once more.
Across the line once more. If we are to compare the car and see who is looking the crisp and decide who's going to be the winner, it's the number 9 so far. His car is the better looking out of the three cars, and Fisher nearly loops it in again.
They're struggling with the balance, a lot of these drivers. Fisher has been more of a drift vehicle than a stock car for portions of this race. And given that we saw him really comfortable at midway through, somewhat of a surprise, bobbles off the corner. Taylor looks to try and look to the inside. He's got to be careful, any contact, and Taylor might end up with a disqualification. Side by side for second, Rogers smiling as he tries to run away.
And looks like there's a little bit of a door-to-door contact between Fisher and Taylor going into turn number 3. Still side by side as a 66 on the 18, but the 18 lives to fight for another day, but a better run.
7/10 the gap between first and second position. Out of these three cars, 2 of them started 10th or lower. Gives you an indication to what we've seen. Taylor's not happy with Fisher. He hits the wall himself, though. While Fisher's getting loose, he wants to find a way past, and he is running out of time because the laps are ticking on by.
Yeah, going to lap 280. After that will be 20 laps to go between all 4 drivers. Well, all 5 drivers, because Brent Sayers is 14 laps behind the leader. But regardless, it is a 4-way battle, realistically a 3-way battle, and Taylor is closing it again. And I'm 100% sure that Taylor's not gonna be polite to Fisher on the next few laps.
Probably not. 20 laps, 10 miles left to go here as we get closer and closer to the checkered flag flying. Fisher once more hangs the rear end out, those tires building up the temperature, screaming out in agony. It's 8/10 between first and seconds. Across the line once more they come. If Taylor wants to fight for the lead, he needs to find a way past, drifts it into the corner, still unable to get it done.
Yeah, still unable to get it done, but will Taylor try to find another line or try to remain on that inside line, try to go for the dive and see where it goes at the end of the day? But now you can see Fisher kind of bobbles it in on the inside, gets a little bit of a run on the outside, but a better run is for Taylor, just because he's managing the tires better.
Big smile on the face of Nick Rogers, qualified in 11th. Now leads this race almost 1 second clear of the squabble that is going on for second spot. As across the line, it is 16 laps to go.
Whoa.
This time by, they bump, they barge amongst themselves for second place. Both cars hold on to it, but Taylor has a nose in front. Fisher demoted to 3rd spot.
Will Fisher go back for that dive though?
Does he have the speed to look for it?
Does he have the tires to do? That's the question.
Hand in hand, you know what I mean? It looks like he got a monster run off of turn 2, but just a little bit too far back this time. He's looking better through the middle of the corner. Not as nice on the exits, though, and he loses speed, therefore, on the entry to each of these corners.
Yeah, of course, the damage might be way too big for Fisher to handle with little to go, but we are approaching the tail end. Only a few laps left. After that will be right about 13 laps to go towards the finish in of this race, and Rogers looking comfy in the lead.
Yeah, no, and oh, there's the contact. Fisher sends Taylor up the track. Is that going to be a caution? Rogers won't be wanting that. Here we go. It will be a shootout. Robert Taylor gets spun around by Caden Fisher. Tempers are flaring, and it's going to come down to likely a 7 or 8 lap shootout to the end. Here's a look from the aerial angle, Lorenzo. Fisher got the run, was able to get those tires. You can see the 66 had a bit of a moment of his own. There wasn't a space, but Fisher went for it.
Yeah, Fisher went for it, you know, just after trading blows constantly after lap after lap. I think Fisher kind of like, I'm not going to give in this time around, just goes for it and try to make up on the mistake of the number 18 and of the number 66, and unfortunately spins him around and both cars into the pit lane. Now Michael Werner is promoted to second place.
Rogers does not pit. I do not blame him.
I don't. That is a smart choice because, you know, in my opinion, you have two guys who are tooth and nail battling against each other. Werner knows that they are hanging on a tree of sorts. So just be in your position, and you might get P2 for free.
Oh, that would be great. That would be great. I would suspect that Caden Fisher might get an end-of-line penalty, so he would drop behind Robert Taylor. Haven't seen confirmation of that just yet. Think that is about to happen, though. We will wait and see. Will be 8 laps next time by, so should restart with 7 if we form up 2 wide this time by. Can tell you that Taylor is not making friends with race control right now.
Oof, rough.
There was a bit of a mix-up. Unfortunately, Taylor got the penalty instead of Fisher. Immediately was cleared. And yeah, Taylor took exception to that one. And Taylor almost just bumped Burner under caution. It wouldn't be the first incident that we've seen under caution, though.
Yeah.
So it will be 7 to go. Looks like the lights are off on the pace car. We are ready to sprint to the end. Remember, no overtime rules. In fact, it will be 1 more lap before we get back underway. No overtime rules like you see in the NASCAR Cup Series, so we'll finish under caution if we'll need to. Yeah, lap 300 will be the final lap of this race. Should be an interesting one. Can Rogers hold on with worn tires? Can Burner spring a surprise? Or will it be Robert Taylor, Caden Fisher able to work their way through to victory here? Lorenzo, which way are you going?
I really don't know. I'm not going to make an opinion out of this.
You don't want to curse someone. I think that's the reality.
Exactly.
6 laps to go. We're ready to see who will win your East Coast Thunder eSports Winter Showdown. Taylor immediately dispatches of Burner. Fisher will try and follow him down the inside. And Taylor now gets ready to find a way past on Nick Rogers.
Looks for a lane, try to go for the inside. Rogers kind of opens up the lane for Taylor to go by. But time is running out. There will be lap 297, and Rogers needs to fight back because now Fisher's on the inside.
That call to not take tires might be the determining one for Nick Rogers in this race. Bit of a moment there, but they'll keep things green for now. Rogers closes onto the back of the 66 car.
Yeah, got very loose, the 66 outside of turn number 2, and thought he was going to spin for a moment, but kept it on track nevertheless. And now the number 9 needs a miracle to get into the lead of this race.
1 mile to go, and Robert Taylor is in control of the field. Caden Fisher looking to the inside of Nick Rogers as they battle for second spot, but all the while opens the gaps. Now 3 car lengths between Taylor and Rogers for the race lead. White flag in the air this time by. Will finish under green flag conditions. Taylor is clear. Fisher still trying to fight for second. Might try and lunge it to the inside as through turn 3 and 4 for the final time, Robert Taylor will win your East Coast Thunder Esports Winter Showdown in a dramatic stop-and-start race. Nick Rogers, Caden Fisher round out the podium positions. Ultimately, though, the call to not take tires, Lorenzo, cost Nick Fisher victory here today.
Yeah, it backfired badly for the number 9, but still got P2 at the end of the day. But of course, we know the number 9 is going to be disappointed after losing such a very tightly contested battle towards the end of the race.
Well, after being involved in a whole number of cautions, many self-inflicted by the 66 car with that decision to not take left side tires, he'll burn the house down, as will the rest of the field, for just surviving today's race. 300 laps later, this race is in the books, and we'll take a look at your race results here in the East Coast Thunder Esports Winter Showdown. Robert Taylor wins this race in what was a bit of a dramatic one, to put it mildly. Nick Rogers for Rogers Motorsports finishes in second after starting outside of the top 10, while Caden Fisher for Revelry Racing completes the podium spot. Michael Berner survives to finish in fourth, while Brent Seegers got mixed up in a couple of incidents early, got himself almost 20 laps back from the leaders, fought his way back though to be 14 laps down at the checkered flag, persevering to the end. Then we get to the graveyard. Jake Silvio, Weston Ward, Ryan Grassi, Bradley Erickson, and Dylan Courtney through the top 10. While Parker McDonald, who put it on pole and controlled parts of this race, finishes down in 11th. Blake Timmons, William Krushka, Luke Baldwin, Chase Johnson, and Alexander Rowe through the cars that finished this race. Thomas Frisch was up in race control, and Jeff Rogers did not take to the starting grid. Well, that's our results. And I believe in our post-race coverage, we'll at least get the chance to talk to the number 9 car of Nick Rogers. Nick, do we have a copy on you? We'll try and dial him up again. Nick Rogers, do you have us here in the RaceSpotTV commentary booth? The joys of live broadcasting doesn't appear as though we'll get any words from your second place finisher, Nick Rogers. Lorenzo, let's wrap things up then. Let's say goodbye. In an interesting race, lots of cautions. I'm pretty sure we broke 20 cautions over the course of the night. It was a race where surviving was important, and unfortunately for Nick Rogers, after surviving, the call to not take tires really hurt him at the end.
Yeah, but it was a gamble that needed to be taken, right? And sometimes it does backfire. It's racing, you know. Sometimes you go for a strategy that doesn't make sense, and it pays off at the end of the day. And this one, you know, just he thought it would be a little bit of a chaotic race, maybe between Taylor and Fisher, but unfortunately it wasn't, and it backfired on him, and Nick Rogers lost the win, and Taylor got the W.
Well, from Pensacola, Florida, for your East Coast Thunder Esports Winter Showdown, we will say goodbye. On behalf of everyone at RaceSpotTV, for our partners at ATVO providing our live timing and scoring, for Dougie Beard providing today's track cameras, my name is Arjuna Kankipati, joined in the booth with Lorenzo Bonder, Hugo Luis on production for today's action. It was a dramatic race, but it's in the books. Robert Taylor in the 66 wins the East Coast Thunder Esports Winter Showdown. For now, though, so long and goodbye from the Five Flag Speedway.